What your name mean to you? Your name don't mean to you.
Spider-Man does it again!
Let's go!
If you want to know where the next generation of defensive disruptors is headed, you've come to the right place. We are officially in late February 2026, and the draft board is finally starting to settle around one name: David Bailey. This edge rusher class is loaded with athletes, but we are looking at a guy who can turn a blindside into a turnover in less than 2 seconds. But before we dive into why his stock is hitting orbit, we've got to talk about the factors making Bailey the most debated prospect in Indy. These are the honorable mentions, the specific questions that could push him to #1 overall or cause a slight slip if a team gets cold feet. First, we have to address the weight room whisper. There's a massive debate at the Combine about his true playing weight. He's listed at 250, but we're hearing he might measure closer to 240. If he comes in light, he has to prove he isn't just a speed merchant who will get buried by NFL-sized tackles. Second is the arm length measurement. We need to see those long levers cross the 34-inch mark to feel safe about him keeping blockers off his chest. Third, we're watching his run-fit discipline. He's a physical freak, but we need to see if he can anchor against power or if he's strictly a sub-package specialist. Fourth, on the comparison front, he's closer to a Nick Bonito or a prime Vic Beasley, winning with a tuned-up get-off rather than raw power. Finally, we're tracking his interview room reports. He was a legend in the Big 12, but he has to prove to GMs he can lead a professional defense from day one. The next thing that jumps off the screen for us is that alien-level get-off. Bailey is operating on a different clock, often 2 steps into his rush before the tackle finishes his kick slide. That raw explosion makes him a nightmare to game plan for. Second, we have to talk about that Meteoric stock. We're seeing him as high as #2 overall in mocks because the production doesn't lie. After transferring from Stanford to Texas Tech, he led the conference in almost every category, proving he's a finished product ready to change a defensive culture immediately. Third is his tweener versatility. He was an off-ball linebacker at Stanford before becoming an edge menace in Lubbock. We see the hip fluidity to run with tight ends, but his bread and butter is that specific slasher style built for the modern pass-heavy NFL. Fourth, the raw numbers are impossible to ignore. 14.5 sacks in a single season isn't a fluke, it's a statement. We saw him rack up over 80 pressures, showing a high-octane motor that stays disruptive from the first snap to the final whistle. Finally, the fit with the top of the board is perfect. Whether it's the Titans at pick 4 needing an anchor, or Dan Quinn in Washington looking for a cornerstone at 7, Bailey is the plug-and-play solution. In a league where the quarterback is king, David Bailey is the ultimate equalizer.
Locking in on the most physical dude in the building, Rueben Bain Jr. This edge class is pretty deep, but Bain is a 275-pound wrecking ball who can walk a tackle right back into the quarterback's lap. But before we break down why his stock is essentially bulletproof, we've got to talk about the factors making him such a massive debate in Indy. These are the honorable mentions, the specific questions that could keep him in the top 10 or cause a slight slide if teams get obsessed with measurables. First, we have to address the T-Rex talk, the rumor that his arm length might drop below 31 inches, which is a major yellow flag for teams obsessed with long levers. Second is the low center of gravity. He has to prove his leverage can win out even if NFL tackles try to outreach him. Third, we're watching his inside-outside flexibility to see if GMs view him as a pure end or a guy who can slide inside to 3-tech to cause chaos. Fourth is the weight room versus game speed check. Can he keep that elite closing burst if he's asked to play at a heavy 280? Finally, we're tracking his interview reports to see if that film junkie IQ translates to the high-level IQ needed to lead a pro defense from day one. Quick reminder, sometime before you check out, subscribe and give us a like. Thanks. The next thing that jumps off the screen is those Anvil-Weighted Hands. When Bain strikes a blocker, you can almost hear the air leave their lungs. It isn't just about strength, it's that technical heavy-handedness that makes it impossible for tackles to stay attached to him. Second, we have to talk about that relentless motor. There are guys who flash on 3 plays a game, and then there's Bain. This dude is a high-octane engine that doesn't quit until the whistle, often chasing down plays 20 yards downfield that he has no business being involved in. Third is his historic production. We aren't just talking about a potential guy. He led the nation because he's a finished product who understands how to finish a rush. Fourth, his technical mastery is basically at a pro level already. He uses a long arm and a club rip combo that looks like it was coached up by an all-pro, making him one of the most pro-ready technicians we've seen in years. Lastly, the fit with the top of the board is perfect. Whether it's the Chiefs at 9 looking for a culture setter, or the Jets needing a power rusher to rebuild that defensive front after the Quinnen Williams trade, Bain is the plug-and-play solution. In a draft full of projects, Rueben Bain Jr. is 100% the safest bet on the defensive line. Got a sec? Hit subscribe, leave a comment, and as always,
What your name mean to you? Your name don't mean to you.
Spider-Man does it again!
Let's go!